So in this video we're going to have a look at how we can work out the area of a triangle. Our start will be by reminding ourselves a wee bit about the area of a rectangle and the formula that we use for that. So if we want to work out the amount of space inside a shape, which is what we're talking about when we talk about area, then the formula that we use if it's a rectangular shape is you would do length times breadth. That gets shortened to this sort of where you're using capital letters to stand for these words. So A for area, the L for the length, times by the B for the breadth. And that's what's known in maths as a formula. So the formula for working out the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. Another word for formula is just a rule. It's a rule that lets you work this out. So for example, just a wee bit of what you've seen before. If you had this shape here on the left, clearly got a rectangle, your working would be set out as follows. You'd write down area equals L times B, that's your formula. On the next line down, you'd put in your 5 and your 9, it doesn't matter which way round you put them. 5 times 9 of course is 45. Because these measurements are meters, remember your units need to be square units for area. Right? It's very, very important that you remember the units. So the second example there, the square beside it, square means that all your sides are the same length. So if that side there's 4 centimetres, that one would also be 4 centimetres. So we can still use the length times breadth, but when we're multiplying the two numbers together, it's the same two numbers. So we'd end up with 16. Here my units are going to be square centimetres because my measurements were in centimetres. So it's quite important that you remember the units, right? So things like square millimetres, square centimetres, square meters, and so on. So that's how that's what you've met before in terms of rectangles. What we're going to look at today is what about a triangle. Now in the picture that you've got there, hopefully you can see that for this rectangle here, which measures 5 squares along one edge by 4 down the other, if we wrote down the formula in there and we said that actually that square, or that rectangle rather, is made up of 20 squares, so its area would be said to be 20 square centimetres. If you draw in a diagonal like this, you create a right angled triangle. Now hopefully you can see that that triangle is half of the area of the rectangle, right? So you're half of the area of the rectangle round about it. So in this particular case, you'd take that 20 and you would half it and you'd get 10 square centimetres. So we can use that to help us come up with the rule for finding the area of a triangle. So if we say that a triangle is half the area of the rectangle that surrounds it, because we know that to get the rectangle we do length times breadth, that would therefore mean that all we've basically got to do is then half divide by 2 to get the triangle. However, with triangles we don't talk about length and breadth, we talk about base and height. So you will see the formula or the rule for a triangle that I need you to learn, and this is how it's written down. We talk about base times by height and then divide by 2. After you've watched this video, I'll ask you to copy this in the notes, the little picture, the base and height, and also the formula that we've got going on here. So the base times height and then dividing by 2, or it can also be written like this: area equals a half times base times height. So how does that work in our way that we would write our working down? So this triangle here, you can see you've got 4 centimetres and 8 centimetres. If you drew a rectangle there, you'd be timesing them together, but we've only got a triangle. You begin by making sure you write the formula down, and then you put your numbers in, and again it doesn't matter what way round you do that. So you are doing 4 times 8, which is 32, and then you're having to half the 32. If you need to, you can write out your working. 2 into 3 goes 1, remainder 1, 2 into 12 is 6. So your area is 16, and it's square centimetres for that one. So we need to see the working written down. Second example, you start with the formula, area equals base times height. You're going to do your base. It doesn't really matter which way round those numbers are. 9 times 16, and then you divide by 2. So I would expect to see you working. 9 times 6 is 54, 9 times 1 is 9, plus that 5 is 14. Then you've got to divide by 2. So you get 2 into nothing, 2 into 1 goes nothing, 2 into 14 is 7, and 2 into 4 is 2. So your answer would be 72 square centimetres. And that's what I'll be looking for. I want to see the formula, I want to see the numbers, I want to see it working, and I want to see the units there. So you're going to practice that yourself on the worksheet. But make sure that you copy these examples down, and also a little note of the formula.